get my guitar. All right, we are ready to roll. Let's see. Okay. Oh, gotta get a song. Let's see. Song. All right, something a little more lively today. All right, gang, let's go. Litai panakamala, koti chandishujitala, yechaya kakachura. Jaiva Dharma, Kuti Chanda Shushita, Jaya Jaya. Hey, lonely Jai, Vinay Bhai, Radha Krishna Bhai Jai. Samananahija Sajanma Kelota Sing Pashubaro Raja Nitana Mulino Mukhay Mashila Manzana Suke Nichakune China Purino Mukhay Machilo Samsaras Suke Nijakule Kigori Vedara Amakara Matakoya Jaiva Dharma Shuriya Asachire Satchakuri Mani Ahankara Matakoya Jaiva Dharma Shuriya Sachire Sachakuri Mani Nitya Karuna Hoy Be Krishna Hoy Be Yaro Nitya Charana Tukani Nitya Karuna Be Rajirana Krishna Pai Be Yaro Nitya Charana Tukani Nitya Charana Satya Tara Sevaka Nitya Nitya Bhakta Sadakuro Acha Nitya Charana Satya Tara Sevaka Nitya Nitya Bhakta Sadakuro Acha Narotama Doro Nitai Mori Korasuki Nakuranga Charanera Bhaja Narotama Korotoke Nitai Mori Korasuki Nakuranga Charanera Bhaja Jaiva Dharma Koti Chanta Shuchitara Yay Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Paravidakacharya, also Tada, Satashi, Shimad. His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanada, Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shitwai Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shishi Radha Krishna Gopikapada Sayam Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jaiva Dharma Ki Jai Yamunamaya Ki Jai Shrimad Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Pasyacha Dejatarni. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, let us go on to let us read the translation. Okay. Manakshiksha. In this material world which is progressing toward hell, there is always a blazing fire, and everyone is struggling hard without finding peace. Therefore, if the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter under the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, which are cooling like the shining of millions of moons. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult to approach Radha Krishna. Anyone who does not establish a relationship with Lord Nityananda is simply spoiling their boon of a human birth in the animal propensities of sense gratification. Never saying the names of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, they become absorbed in so-called material enjoyment, and their academic education of birth in a high family or great nation will not protect them at the time of death. They become maddened by a false concept of bodily life, and thus they have forgotten their eternal relationship with Lord Nityananda. Such forgetful persons accept the illusory energy as factual. When you achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda, then you will be able to approach Radha Krishna. Firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are not illusion, they are a fact. And anyone who engages in the transcendental loving service of Lord Nityananda immediately achieves their transcendental position on the spiritual platform, which is eternal and blissful. Therefore, always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Narottam Das Thakur says, "My dear Lord Nityananda, I am very unhappy, so I am praying to you to make me happy. Please keep me in a corner of your lotus feet." So how do we actually get the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda? That would be great. We get the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, who is the original guru, by serving our spiritual master. And ultimately, everyone is serving Srila Prabhupada. And everyone who is serving Srila Prabhupada is serving Lord Nityananda. And everyone who is serving Lord Nityananda gets an opportunity to enter into the service of the divine couple, Shri Shri Radha Govinda. Okay, on that happy note, let us proceed with the reading of the Jaiva Dharma. Somagana Mirandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So now we'll go to the Jaiva Dharma. We're reading about the offenses against the holy name. Very, very interesting subject matter here. We'll share the screen. Jaiva Dharma Ki Jai. All right. And we will set it up here a little bit. All right. So Vijay Kumar, after getting a brief explanation of the 10 offenses, Vijay Kumar wants the Babaji, his Guru Maharaj, to elaborate more on the 10 offenses. So please explain each verse so we can understand the offenses. Babaji said the first verse explains 2 offenses. The first offense is this: the devotees karma, material activities for sense grad. The internet's unstable again. Better now. Dharma, mundane religiosity, like typical sectarian religion. And jnana, desire for liberation, or just wanting to titillate the mind. And yoga, the different processes and postures and breathing exercise. If one criticizes them, it is a great offense. That is, the devotees who've given up all those things just to serve Krishna. It is a great offense, since they spread the name's true glories to the world. So those who have dedicated their life to propagating the holy name of the Lord. The name cannot tolerate criticizing them. While giving up criticism of the devotee surrendered to the name of one chants the name and association with devotees, thinking of those devotees as the greatest devotees, the name will quickly be merciful. So let me elaborate a little bit more on this. When one takes up Krishna consciousness, what happens? One gets the bhakti lata bij, the seed of the creeper of devotion in one's heart, and that gets watered by the process of hearing and chanting. That's great. So, just like when you're growing vegetables or flowers or whatever, you got to be careful not to let animals in there, because the animals can either eat the plants or the animals can trample them, or they could pollute the whole atmosphere. That's why here in North Carolina we have problem with deer. No matter how cute deer are, they do get into the garden. And so we had one devotee who got so upset with the deer, he saw a deer in his garden, he started chasing the deer and gave the deer a slap. It was faster. He was so upset with the deer that he could run faster than the deer. So anyway, so getting back to the point. But even worse than deer is someone or something like an elephant. Why? Or let's say driving your truck into the garden. It's a more modern way to see things, because that tramples everything. The deer eat 80% of what's there. They leave over 20%. But the elephant or your pickup truck, your monster truck, actually destroys the whole garden. And so, therefore, when we offend devotees, it's called a mad elephant offense. Or in the modern day age, it's called the mad monster truck offense. In other words, your creeper gets demolished. That creeper that's going to penetrate the coverings of the material world and go back to God, it gets destroyed. Very bad. So that's the offenses against them. One has to be very careful dealing with devotees. Very, very, very careful. I mean, just like, so careful. Vijay Kumar said, I've understood the first offense, Prabhu. Please explain the second offense. Babaji said, the second half of the verse, the offense is explained. There are two explanations. Here's the first explanation. If one sees Sada Shiva, the best of the Devatas, and Vishnu with their names and qualities, etc., separate entities, it becomes an offense to the name. This means that if one imagines that Sada Shiva is a separate independent Lord with full powers and Vishnu is a separate Lord, it becomes belief in many gods. But by this offense, a great obstacle to pure bhakti for the Lord appears. However, if one understands that Vishnu is the Supreme Lord, and by his Shakti, Shiva, and other devatas become gods or lords, that is, they do complete Shakti on their own and chants the holy name, it is not an offense. So in other words, okay, that's the meaning. One should understand the position of Lord Shiva and the position of Vishnu. They're lords, but Shiva and the Devas are subordinate lords. The meaning is this. If one sees the name, form, and qualities and pastimes of the Lord, who has the most auspicious form, Shivasa Shri Vishnu, as separate from his Nitya Siddha Vigraha, one commits an offense name. Wow. If one sees anything, we should understand the Lord is non-dual. I should actually define the terms here. Nitya Siddha means eternally form, eternally perfect form. That means Krishna's body. So if you see anything about the Lord as separate from his identity, his name, then that's a great offense, and that's number 2 also. Thus one should chant Krishna's name after having jnana and vijnana. It means knowledge and realization that his swarup, form, name, qualities, and pastimes are all spiritual and non-different from each other. In other words, by thinking of Krishna's pastimes or speaking about Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's there. By speaking about Krishna's qualities, Krishna's there. By speaking about Krishna's name, Krishna is there. By seeing Krishna, Krishna's there, obviously. No difference. Vijay Kumar said, I understand the first and second offense that you previously, by your mercy, explained tattva, that means the categories in relation to difference and non-difference of guna and guni, means qualities and the possessor of qualities. In other words, Krishna is the same as his qualities, and he is the possessor of qualities. Nama and Nami, that means the name of Krishna, and Krishna, who is the person who has the name, and the person who is the name. The name is non-different from Krishna. Amsa, that means a portion, or a expansion, and Amshi, the person who expands, etc., within Krishna's spiritual conscious swarup form. It is necessary for those who take shelter of the name to understand, the name means the holy name, to understand at the feet of the Guru the relationship and difference between the material and spiritual tattvas. So in other words, in the material world, or let's unpack this, there's a difference between the person who has the name and the name. Got it? There's a difference between the person and the qualities that one shows in the material world. For example, if by the grace of God I could show some intelligence, there's a difference between me and the intelligence because the intelligence comes from Krishna. The only thing I don't have that, let's say, the only thing I have that is part of my inherent nature is consciousness. That's part of my inherent nature. Of course, that's because I'm part and parcel of Krishna. But in other words, that's part of the nature of the soul. Babaji said, the person who teaches the supremacy of Nama Tattva is the Guru, is the Nama Guru. Okay. The Nama Guru. That means the Guru teaching the holy name. Nama Tattva means the truth of the name of Krishna. One must maintain unflinching devotion to him. Unflinching means in all circumstances. The person who disrespects the Nama Guru, the one who teaches you the name, saying that Guru only understands Krishna's scriptures about the name, but those who know more about Vedanta are superior in knowledge of scriptures, is an offender to the name. In reality, there is no higher Guru than the Guru who knows Nama Tattva. Interesting. If one thinks of the Guru in this way, he commits an offense to the name. Wow. So usually the Prabhupada would explain the third offense on chanting, which is the one being dealt with now, is disobeying the order of the spiritual master. It also means not to have faith in the spiritual master, to think one knows more than the spiritual master, and to think you need to go to someone else who knows more than the spiritual master. If the spiritual master has Nama Tattva, understands Nama Tattva. Vijay Kumar said, Prabhu, I am most fortunate if I can have pure bhakti for you. Oh, for you, that's right. Please explain the fourth offense. So he's asking for pure bhakti towards the spiritual master. Babaji said, in the Shrutis, in giving special spiritual instructions, put the name on the highest platform. Om Vasha Jananto Namachid Viviktanamahas Te Vishnu Sumatim Bhajanamahe Om Tat Sat. That's the Rig Veda. That's how you chant the Rig Veda. O Vishnu, know that your name is spiritual and self-revealed, chanting that name which is easily understood. We worship you. Rig Veda 1, 156, 3. Oh, internet again. Give me a second. Okay. Again. Padam devasya namashavanta shavasya vashravapanamriktang namani chiddadhire yadhiyani padrayante ranayantak sandrishtao. I offer many respects to the lotus feet of you who are the most worthy of worship and glorify them after understanding them completely. They purify your devotees who hear and sing about them. We take shelter of your spiritual names with conviction. That's also Rig Veda. Wow. 614. Another verse from the Rig Veda. Om Tamu Shotrara Puram Yata Vida Ritashatkar Vabang Janushapi Partana Asya Janando Nama Chiddvidana Mahaste Vishnu Sumatim Bhajamahe. Praise Krishna, who is everlasting, to be understood through the Vedas in the way that you know him. In this way, make your birth complete. O Vishnu, knowing that your name is spiritual and self-revealed, chanting that name which is easily understood, we worship you. Rig Veda 1, 156.3, quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas 11, 510. Now, I just want to make it clear, the reason the Rig Veda is being quoted here is that there are many so-called Vedic scholars who claim that the only thing they accept are the Vedas, the original, what they consider to be the original Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva Vedas. And some of them accept the Upanishads too. But this is what it means to be considered a Vedic scholar. So in the original Vedas, also there's another verse that everybody is familiar with, Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Pada Pashanti Surya. It's also from the Rig Veda, that all the demigods, they're looking to Vishnu and worshiping Vishnu. In this way, one sees the holy name glorified in the Vedas and Upanishads. If one criticizes all these Shrutis, it is an offense to the name. So in other words, blaspheming Vedic literatures or literatures and pursuits of the Vedic version is how the offense is stated. If after giving respect to the Shrutis, Shruti refers to the 4 Vedas that I just mentioned, Rig, Atharva, Yajur, and Sama. After giving respect to the Shrutis' various teachings, out of great misfortune, one disrespects the Shrutis which explain the meaning of the name. It is Nama Aparad. It's an offense against the name. Those who commit this offense do not develop a taste for the name. You should chant the name while regarding all the major statements of the Shrutis to be the crown jewel of knowledge in the Shrutis. Vijay Kumar said, Prabhu, nectar flows from your mouth. Now we are thirsty to know the 5th offense to the name. The 5th offense to the name of the Lord is exaggeration, arthavada. Jaimini says, Shruti Smriti Puraneshu Nama Mahatmya Vachisu Yer Tarvada Iti Bruyu Natishamdre Kshaya. Those who interpret the words in Shruti, Smriti, and the Puranas, which glorify the name, go to hell without end. Woo! So what's the Shruti? The 4 original Vedas. Smriti means that which is remembered, like you getting later, like the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra, etc., like that, and Itihasa. And then you have the Puranas, which include the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's 18 major Puranas, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost Purana. So anyone who interprets or minimizes the words in the Shruti, Smriti, and Puranas, which glorify the name, they go to hell without an end. In other words, those who think that the glories of the holy name are imagination go to HELL. Yanama Kirtana Palam Vividam Nishamya Nashadadati Manuteyad Uthartavadam Yo Manushashtamiha Dukka Chayekshipami Samsara Gora Vividarti Nipiditangam. That person who, even after hearing about the wonderful results of chanting the Lord's name, refuses to develop sincere faith in the name, and on the contrary interprets the name as hurled by me into the deep gloom of material nations after being dragged through excruciating suffering. Oh my God. That's from the Padma Purana. The scriptures say that the Lord's name possesses all Shaktis, energies of the Lord. The name is spiritual. It is capable of destroying everything related to the material world. Wow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vishnu Dharma says, Krishnaiti Mangalam Nama Yasya Vachi Pravartate Vasmi Vavanti Rajendra Mahapataka Kotaya. O best of kings, the person who chants the auspicious name of Krishna burns to ashes millions of Mahapatakas, means great, great, great sins. The Brihad Naradiya Purana says, Nanyat Pashyami Jantunam Vihaya Hari Kirtanam Sarva Papa Prashamanam Prayastitam Tvijotama. I do not see anything for living beings except chanting the Lord's name, which is the atonement that destroys all sins. In the Brihad Vishnu Purana, which says, Namno hiyavati shakti papa nirhane hare tavat kartam na shoknoti pataka pataki naraha. The name of the Lord can destroy all the sins that a sinful person can commit. All of this glorification is very true. Those engaged in karma and jnana, that means trying to attain gross sense gratification or knowledge or liberation, on hearing this glorification, minimize the meaning in order to maintain their activities. Arthavad means to believe that the glorification of the name in scripture is not true, but is praising the results in order to make people believe in the name. It's like, okay, like sometimes you may go on Amazon and there's some positive review of a particular product, and that review has actually been given by someone who was paid to make that review and paid to buy the product. So the text says this, which is another quote. Those who commit this offense to the name cannot develop a taste for the name. Having faith in the statements of Scripture, you should chant the name of the Lord. One should not associate with a person who commits this offense, artha vada, or tovada. If one sees the face of such a person, one should bathe with one's clothing on. This is what Gauranga taught. Vijay Kumar said, and he has a good question here that's applicable to all of us. Prabhu, it is not very easy for householders to chant the name purely, since they're always surrounded by offenders to the name. Devotee association is difficult for scholarly Brahmins like us. Prabhu, please give us the power to give up all bad association. The more we hear from your mouth, the more we desire to hear. Now explain the sixth offense. So, Anyway, a little background. Brajanath is still getting a little bit nervous about the fact that he's going to get married. He said, I'm going to get married, and then I'm going to be surrounded. I have to make money. I have to take care of the family. God knows what my wife's consciousness is going to be like. Oy, 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 gavolt. Babaji said, that the all names, actually there, thinks that all names of the Lord are imaginary. It is the sixth offense. So I guess the way I have it here is the previous offense was to give some interpretation, okay? And six is to think it's imaginary. Sometimes they switch the two in their discussions. Mayavadis and persons absorbed in material karmas think that the supreme tattva, truth, is impersonal Brahman, impersonal spirit, and devoid of a name or form. Those who conclude that the sages imagine names like Rama and Krishna for achieving a further purpose are offenders to the name. The name of the Lord is eternal and spiritual. The name chanted with bhakti appears to the material senses, which become spiritualized by hearing the name. Learning this from the real Guru and the Shrutis, that means the four original Vedas, one should know that the name of the Lord is true, not imaginary. If one thinks it is imaginary, the name will never give mercy. Woo. Vijay, so we should have so much faith in Krishna's name. One of my godbrothers, Jayananda, great devotee. Practically every class he gave was about the holy name, and it was basically a very simple class. It didn't get into elaborate descriptions or anything. It's just you got to have faith in the name. If you chant the name you associate with Krishna, you have to chant the name purely, etc. Vijay Kumar said, Prabhu, as long as we did not take shelter of your fearless feet, we had such mentality in the association of materialists and logicians. By your mercy, that mentality is gone. Now mercifully explain the seventh offense. Oh. So this is sinning on the strength of chanting. Babaji said, those who engage in sin on the strength of the name are offenders. In other words, they chant and they think, I can do any damn thing. I can eat any damn thing. I can do anything because I'm chanting. And the karma is gone. It doesn't work like that. One who commits all sins while taking shelter of the name cannot be purified by all the yamas, that means restrictions, and niyamas, positive injunctions. Since that chanting of the name is considered an offense, that chanting of the name is considered an offense to the name, and the offense can only be removed by the process that removes the offense to the name. And if you remember before, the only process that removes the offenses or the offense to the name is constant chanting of the name, without offense. Vijay Kumar said, Prabhu, there's no sin on earth that the name cannot destroy. Why is the chanting of the name not destroy sin? And why is it counted amongst the offenses? Babaji said, when the jiva chants the pure name, just one name destroys all parabdha and aparabdha sins. So parabdha sins means that which are manifest now, like your ugly body. Is your parabdha sin. Manifestation of the parabdha sin. It's not the sin itself, but it's the manifestation. And aparabdha means that which is coming, it hasn't been manifest yet. Oh my God, I would be scared stiff. What's coming for me in the future? It's heavy enough if you're dealing with Krishna. You don't know what Krishna's going to do to you in the future. But if you're dealing with your past karma or the reactions for your past activities, wow, it is scary. You never know what's behind the door. You never know what you wake up to or not wake up to the next day. So, just one name destroys all the present reactions and and what you're going to get in the future. Chanting after that, prema arises in the name. after you got rid of all those sins, then prema comes. Thus, the person who chants the pure name, far from thinking of committing sin, has no taste even for punya karmas, for pious activities. What to speak of sin and piety, he has no taste for liberation. The person who takes shelter in the name will not commit any sin. One should see in this topic that the sadhaka chants the name, but because of a little offense remains, the name he chants only becomes namabhas. It's not the pure name. Namabhas is like a reflection or a shadow of the name. It is not the pure name. Even from namabhas, previous sins are destroyed and a taste to commit new sins does not arise. But from the previous habit of sins, some remnants of sin remain. Now, I gave the example of that the other day. Let's say someone who is addicted to smoking marijuana is going on book distribution to preach in the dormitories, the university dormitories. So he knocks on the door, and they say, "Come in, come in." And so he comes in, and there's all this nice smoke there, and they offer him, "Oh, would you like a toke?" Toke means like puff of the marijuana, and he just does it. That's accidental. That's because of some habits. By namabhash, those are gradually destroyed. Sometimes he accidentally commits sin, but that is removed by namabhash. So in other words, the sin that is actually done, or the sin that is done before, is removed by namabhash. But the sin that one does, thinking that he can get away with any damn thing, that sin is not destroyed. So here's a question someone asked. Does the guru take on all the karma when he initiates, or are we subjected to the upcoming karmic results? Interesting question. By chanting even namabhas before you take initiation, there's no karma. There's a token reaction which is directly administered by Krishna. So the guru doesn't take your karma away. The holy name does it. By his instructions, he takes your karma away. Yes, that's true. By instructing you how to chant purely, yes. But otherwise, it would be such a dangerous occupation. I'd have to take guru insurance out. Like, it would cost me like $1,000 a month just to take guru insurance out for the karma. Or another thing I could do is I could just, after I initiate people, I could just touch people on their heads and give them back the karma. Hey, that's a good idea. I will do that. Or I could immediately carry a bottle of Ganges water with me and sprinkle myself each time I talk to a disciple. However, such a person who takes shelter of the name thinks, since the name destroys all sins, I can commit a sin and the effect will be surely destroyed. Then whatever sin he commits with that hope, that sin becomes an offense. So in other words, it doesn't work if he does it deliberately. Okay? And not only does it not work, he's also committed an offense against the holy names. Okay, Vijay Kumar said, please satisfy us by explaining the 8th verse. So the way that Prabhupada explains it is that one should not equate the holy name with karma kanda activity, holistic upliftment materials activities. Babaji said, Dharma means following varnashram and performing charities. Vrata means all auspicious karmas. Actually, vrata means vow, but in which one does auspicious things. Chaga means giving up the results of one's karmas or activities. Huta means various sacrifices, and Ashtanga Yoga, that means the Hatha Yoga. All these are counted amongst the Sat karmas. You know, these, Sat, auspicious acts. Besides this, all other auspicious acts mentioned in the scriptures are included in material dharma. They are all material. Okay? The Lord's name is beyond prakriti. The previously mentioned Sat karmas are a means, and they promise to produce complete happiness as the goal. Thus, the Sat karmas are only a means and not the final goal. Though chanting the name is a means, during sadhana it is also the goal, at the time of attaining the fruit. In other words, chanting is the means to become Krishna conscious, and when you're Krishna conscious, chanting is the means to remain Krishna conscious is what you do when you're Krishna conscious. But the quality is different. In other words, when you're becoming Krishna conscious, the quality of chanting is really not pure and may be considered namabhas. And then when you chant, it's the Shuddha Nam, the pure name. Thus, no sat karma, material or special activities, is equal to the name of the Lord. Those who think that the name of the Lord is the same as sat karmas are offenders to the name. Now, Prabhupada explains it as karma khandya activities. Karma khandya means the process of uplifting oneself materially by either doing sacrifices, performing austerities, or yoga, which is mentioned before. It is an offense to pray for the meager results of satkarmas from the name, since one equates the name with satkarmas. In other words, if I pray to the name, my dear holy name, I would like a new car. I would like money. In other words, I hate to say this, but such a Narayan Kata is an offense. Oh my God. Sorry if I've offended someone. Knowing the insignificance of sat karmas, material upliftment activities, you should take shelter in the name of the Lord, understanding its spiritual nature. That is a knowledge of Abhideya. Abhideya basically means the process of becoming Krishna conscious. What you should do to become Krishna conscious. So it's like it's one of the three aspects of approaching Krishna. There's Sambandha, which basically means understanding the truth of all the different categories and their relationships. And Abhideya means what to do about it. And Prayojana means going back to home, back to God, at perfection. Vijay Kumar said, Prabhu, there's nothing equal to the name of the Lord. We understand that. Now explain the ninth offense. Our hearts are very thirsty. So ninth offense, of course, is to teach the faithless about the glories of the holy name of the Lord, as Prabhupada explains. Babaji said, teachings about the name of the Lord are better than anything else taught in the Vedic scriptures. Those who have developed faith and purity, if one instructs the name to those who do not have faith, or averse to spiritual happiness and devoid of the taste for the name, it is an offense to the name. The name of the Lord is superior to all else, and if one chants the name, it is auspicious. Internet again. It is auspicious for everyone. The instruction is to do kirtan, but not seeing qualification, one should not give the name of the Lord. So it appears to be a little contradiction. In other words, we do kirtan, but unless you're engaged in preaching, you just do it like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did in Shiva Sangha. And if one wasn't a pure devotee, they weren't allowed to come into Shiva Sangha. But when a devotee feels more merciful, of course you can't be more merciful than Krishna, but then you go out and do it everywhere like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did when he had his Naga Kirtans, that means on the street. So he differentiated between the two. One was a more intimate circumstance. You don't want to bring those who are adverse or averse to the Lord into the intimate circumstances of chanting. When you become a Parama Bhagavata, that means a topmost devotee, you'll be able to spread Shakti of Bhakti. First, mercy spreading Shakti, which will produce faith in the name for some jiva. One instructs the name of the Lord to that person. As long as one is a Majjhima Vaishnava, one avoids persons who have no faith, are materially inclined, and are averse to the Lord. So, the intermediate platform, which we're all trying to be at this point, then you have to distinguish between what? The innocent, the envious, the devotees, and the Lord. The innocent, you make friendship. You try to instruct, bring to Krishna consciousness. The devotees you make friendship with. Okay. The Lord you worship. And the envious are those who will get blasphemed. You avoid like the plague. Vijay Kumar said, Prabhu, some people give the Maha Mantra to unqualified persons greedy for money or fame. Who are they? And here's explained in the footnote. Instructing or giving the name implies instructing a person to chant the name regularly as sadhana and giving instructions on sambandha gyan and pure bhakti. The candidate recognizes that devotee as his guru. Ah, censorship. And so in response to Brajanath's question, to Vijay Kumar's question about someone who gives the name to people for money or adoration distinction, they are offenders. Phew, very heavy statement here. Okay, so tomorrow we'll deal with the 10 offenses and we'll continue. Let us stop sharing and allow you to unmute yourselves. All right. And ask questions. You can ask questions by typing in the text window or raising your hand or unmuting yourself, being bold enough to unmute yourself without asking permission first. So, who has a question? Oh my God, nobody has a question. Okay, someone asked a question about the holy name. No one? We have to end early. You miss out on a lot of nectar if we end early.
Hare Krishna
Okay.
Maharaj.
Amrihana, that's good. Good to hear you. Good to see you. Or
Hare
not
Krishna.
see you.
Um,
So,
I was just Hare Krishna. Do I undo the video as well or just the microphone?
okay, that's fine.
Okay. I was going to ask regarding the offense of instructing a faithless person with the holy name. I guess if someone is incurious about it and like they ask you just like a bunch of questions and you just show them like places like and just like give them Srila Prabhupada's books. Um but then they just like still like they say stuff to you that might be offensive to the holy name still and are just like might just show that they're not really inclined to look at like they're not really actually inclined to learning about Krishna, learning about Srila Prabhupada, but they just ask you these questions anyways. Like how do you approach situations like that?
Usually I change the subject matter. Either that or go away.
Okay.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Yeah, one time in the past, many years ago, before my parents became favorable to Krishna consciousness, I would try to approach them and teach them about the holy name and Krishna, and they would start to criticize. And so, what I did after they started to criticize to avoid preaching to those who were offensive or might commit offenses to the holy name, I actually just change the subject matter to something mundane.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one way of dealing with it, especially with relatives who you can't just walk away from. Now, sometimes on the street, you're going to meet someone who's a stranger or something like that, especially if you're going out and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And then in that case, you can walk away from someone or defeating them philosophically, but it's not a good idea to argue with people because it just makes people angrier and more offensive. So I
Hmm.
would just try to change this or just walk away. I'm interested. I've had experiences talking to people on the street, particularly some people professed or said they were Christians, were not Christians, and they would just like chase after me. I would just walk away, and they come after me, just keep blabbing and blabbing away, and I just kept walking away. And after a while, they gave up. So yeah, we don't want to for people who are actually going to criticize, and we know they're going to criticize. We avoid talking to them about Krishna. That's the main point. And of course, We do take a risk by going out and talking to people about Krishna or distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, but that's a Vaishnava's compassion and loving spirit. Okay?
Okay. So if they text you and ask you these questions, just like about Srila Prabhupada's books and wanting to read more, do you still like, and then they say like stuff that's offensive, do I just like ignore their text and like not respond to them?
I would just say it's better we don't talk about these things. Please be sensitive. If they're a friend or something like that, please be sensitive to my own beliefs.
Okay.
And most people will understand that. I would just say, if it was a friend or relative or something like that, please, this is a very sensitive topic for me, so would you be willing to not talk about it? And you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not criticizing you at all. We're not getting in an argument about it, but it's very, very sensitive. And I would explain, just like if you had a child, a son or a daughter or something like that, and someone tried to criticize them, you would feel very pained in your heart. So Krishna is very dear to me, Prabhupada is very dear to me, the name is very dear to me, so please respect. All I'm asking for is respect. You don't have to believe in what we're doing, but just give me some respect. That
Hmm.
usually works. Okay?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank
Okay, yeah, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you on during the class. So, anybody else? Oh, Sam, you have a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hadibal.
I have a question. Is it advisable that I should do, if I decide to do nothing else but just chant the holy name, I mean, chant 16 rounds 3 times a day and do nothing else, would you advise me to do that as my devotional service?
I advise you just to sit and chant all day long. No. I would advise you to sit and chant 16 rounds and then be also practical in life, taking care of your family, and also try to bring others to Krishna consciousness. Because the way that we get the mercy of the holy name, at least according to Srila Prabhupada, is by spreading the holy name on the and Krishna consciousness with others. And then our chanting will become purer and purer and purer. I don't think I ever advise someone to sit down and chant 24 hours a day. Of course, if they're getting ready to leave the body, that's another thing. Then I may advise them just to hear and chant all day long and forget about everything else. Okay? All right. I think I answered that. So one more question from uh, Lord Brahma. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please on my basis and all glories to Prabhupada. How do we approach the topic of Sacharan Puj being an offense to the name to people who do it and invite us to it? We do not talk to them about it. And because they don't just make them angry. If you speak to someone and it makes them angry and you make them angry and blasphemous, that's an offense against the name too. So I would approach it in a very positive way. I would say that, oh, it's nice you're hearing about uh, worshiping the Lord, and even there's a higher benefit. And if you're interested in hearing about the higher benefit than the material goods that you will get, then just ask me. And I would tell them a story about Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone. And that story, very quickly, is that once upon a time there was a man who heard there was a touchstone, a stone that could turn anything to gold. And he heard that Sanatana Goswami had it, and he prayed to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva told him that. He went to see Sanatana Goswami, asked for the touchstone. Sanatana Goswami showed him where the touchstone was. The touchstone was in the garbage. So he picked up the touchstone and started turning everything to gold, including his wife and kids and everything. And what happened is that as he was doing that, the gold didn't give him any happiness. So he went to Sanatana Goswami and said, "You told me the touchstone, you had me find the touchstone in the garbage. So there must be something better if you had the touchstone in the garbage." And Sanatana Goswami said, "Yes, there is something better, but if you want to know about something better, then just take that touchstone and throw it into the Yamuna River." And the man had a nervous breakdown at that point because everything he wanted in life was in that touchstone, and he was just like hesitating, like had a real conflict in his inner consciousness. Finally, he threw in the Yamuna River, and Sanatana Goswami instructed him in Nama Tagwa, in the chanting of the holy name. So that's a funny story. That's a true story. And Prabhupada told that story too. So, thank you very much. Time to end. All glory is to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.